PWNcast.
PWNcast episode 18, or should I say PWNcast 0018.
You know what that means?
That we are the podcast that the world does not need right now, but damn it, they deserve it.
No, it means we have a license to kill.
Wait, we have a license to do this now? We got a license to broadcast? Is that what you're saying?
I said kill.
Kill. We're talking about James Bond movies today. We're going to go through from the Eon films, basically, because we don't want to cover...
Personally, my favorite James Bond movie was Casino Royale with Peter Sellers.
Because that's the best Bond movie ever. Because Smursh.
Smurfs.
Yeah.
Really, they should have just bit the bullet and then Smurfs. Just had people paint up in blue costumes and run the casino. Because that is it. Have you seen that? Because that is an insane...
It has been a very long time since I've seen
I saw it and I was like,
Peter Sellers
what is
Royale.
going on? Because the ending action scene is just like... stuff. Like, there's like 3 groups of people fighting, and I want to say there's American Indians involved. I could be wrong. That's how much of a impact it had on me. I was
well, it's supposed to be a parody of Bond, but
yeah,
you know, we're not going to be talking about any gaming stuff this week. We felt that we're overdue for a retrospective, and what better a topic than us to go through the Bond movie since we're huge James Bond fans.
I'm a bigger one.
You can say that, but you don't have the 50th anniversary Blu-ray set, sir.
And I haven't read the books.
Yeah, there's that, which I'm going to touch on those just a little bit as we go through the movies that are actually based on books.
I guess the first question is, what was the first James Bond movie you saw and you can remember seeing?
Goldfinger. Goldfinger was my first. Granted, it was not my first favorite, but it was the first Bond movie I've ever seen.
I'm pretty sure mine was GoldenEye.
Well, that's a good choice as well.
Well, it was just because I saw it, and then I don't remember. It could have been Goldfinger, to be honest, because that was kind of a bad question, because I think it's GoldenEye, because I think that was the first one I actually went and saw, and I was like, oh, this is really good. And then I think after that was Toronto Never Dies, and I just started watching them on TV, and I was like, I really like this. I wish I was James Bond.
Well, I mean, GoldenEye was the first movie in our generation after we were born that came out, because they had that huge gap that we'll get into later. One major thing that I can recommend to anybody who is interested in the history of the franchise, because I'm probably going to be referencing this a lot. If you have a Netflix membership, there is a documentary called Everything or Nothing, which is the, quote, untold story of 007. I highly recommend watching this documentary because it has a lot of stuff of behind-the-scenes things that really hadn't come to light until now. Basically going through any rumors about the franchise, of certain people involved with the franchise, and why they left and things like that. First off, Dr. No. Dr. No...
His worst doctor.
I've read the novel Dr. No. I can't say that I remember too much from it, save for the ending of it, where Bond in the novels versus the movies, very, very different, until you get into, Timothy Dalton, Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig, I think, is an excellent Bond, very faithful to the novels, and same thing with T. Dalt. T. Dalt is definitely faithful to the novels.
This is great.
T. Dalt is the best. He is the abstinent Bond.
I want to say he's my favorite, and I know that a lot of people I feel as though he's the underdog, because he only made 2 films, and I think everyone kind of just let Lazenby just sit in the corner and just have his little neat crouch shooting mechanics, and he just sits in the corner, and then everyone's like, the powerhouse is obviously, Sean Connery,
yeah.
And then Brosnan, and then there's the people that really enjoy 70s corny, and then they love Moore to death, which I like more, but I don't really care that much. But I think, and now with the resurgence of Craig and women everywhere getting their panties moist. But I think T-Dalt is this like underrated, so goddamn great. Just don't think, let it happen.
Yeah, probably one of his best quotes from his movies is "Don't think, just let it happen."
They're in the Ferris wheel, and she's like, "I don't know."
Don't think, just let it happen.
Like, in the suavest,
and to
British,
which
just I would let him come in my book, but I'd be like, okay, I won't think. I'm gonna let it happen now. But
going back to Dr. No, how long has it been since you've seen Dr. No? Have you seen that one recently?
I actually did, and it was on TV, and it was probably within the last 2 months. I watched it.
What do you think about that movie? Because I mean, this is the first Eon. Bond
I never
film.
really like. To me, it kind of feels like in the category of Never Say Never, and not you're gonna understand what I'm saying. Like Never Say Never, and maybe like Diamonds Are Forever. Maybe could like in that kind of like. It's a James Bond movie, but it doesn't feel like a James Bond movie. And I guess I shouldn't say that because he plays the character, he plays him well, but the trademarks aren't there yet, and it's because they hadn't refined them yet, and they hadn't become trademarks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Q was there, but he just gave him a new pistol, which I don't think he even uses in the movie.
No, I can't recall if he does actually use the Walther PPK in this movie, but yeah, he does get it replaced.
I guess I shouldn't say that because there's the cool scene in the hotel where he like tapes it and he does all these cool things to prove, so that way he knows if they come and bug it. And it's to me though like the beginning where it's this weird like really old 60s like
the opening title sequence to this is like, oh, this is so 60s
This is not James Bond. This is just 60s old.
It's almost bordering on Austin Powers, really, when you think about it.
Well, if you took the comedy out of Austin Powers, that's what it is. It's just like these like graphic women. Graphics of women dancing, but like
60s dancing.
Yeah, like just,
with colors.
And I think it was like Congo music, and it was what was it? Was it a James
Three
Bond?
Blind Mice.
Yep, that was it.
Which are assassins in Dr. No. Spoiler alert, by the way. There is a group of assassins called the Three Blind Mice in Dr. No. Spoiler alert. 1962. Spoiler alert.
I liked it. I thought the whole... It really... it opened up Spectre, and that was cool, and Dr. No was cool because he had a metal claw hand. And
well, yeah, that always...
The plot never really stood out to me because he was just trying to hijack... He was trying to mess up the silos.
He topples missiles or rockets that are sent into space.
To screw up with the
space program,
Apollo missions.
Yeah, and he just uses radio signals to throw them off course. I guess
that's it.
I don't understand how a radio wave, if you're shooting a rocket straight up, how a radio wave is just going to make you go nope and go face down into the ocean. I mean.
I did like the whole the dragon. They were like, oh, the dragon, and that was cool. You're like, what? This is 1962. There are no dragons. And then there's this cool looking, tank that shoots fire. And,
that's got a dragon face painted on it.
His little restaurant pal goes off and runs at it and dies. And you're like, oh man.
Oh, Quarrel.
Yeah, I liked him. He had the big gums.
Quarrel.
That was I think that was my favorite part of the movie when they finally got to the island and there was that they were running and
the thing about this movie, and we've kind of somber up until this point. That's because that's kind of how I feel about Dr. No. It's like this movie is somewhat exciting.
There's good parts of it. I think it's just a good detective film. It's more of a mystery. What's going on? Okay. And I think if we transition it from Russia with Love, there's much more this is world politics is the KGB.
Yeah.
Oh, Spectre's defecting. Oh, because the
Spectre wants the Lecter. Man.
Yeah, and they get the blonde chick who didn't even speak English, which I didn't know this until
all of her lines were dubbed, and I had to tell you that.
Let me see. Her
Tatiana Romanova, I think.
Yep, Tatiana Romanova. Yeah. She did not know English, and she had to be dubbed over, which I thought was
well. That's
crazy.
her character name. I don't know what her real name is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's her name in the film.
Okay, yeah.
The thing, I guess, about the first two Bond films in particular, I mean, From Russia with Love is not as bad as Dr. No. In my opinion, I think that the series didn't really know where to start. I mean, you got Fleming, who's still alive at the time, who thinks that Sean Connery was the worst choice to play Bond. That's not who he wanted at all. He was extremely unhappy with the fact that he was cast. Because he felt that a 6'2" Scottish burly man was not really the proper choice for a spy.
Well, and then they followed him up with 6'4" Roger Moore, right?
I don't think Roger Moore was that tall.
God, Roger looked tall in all of his movies.
Yeah,
Maybe it was the style of the pants.
I mean, Man with the Golden Gun, you look at him next to Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee's a damn giant.
That is right.
Yeah.
He looks really small against Lee.
Yeah. But, From Russia with Love, I really enjoyed this movie because we start to introduce the bit of trademarks that you would find in a Bond movie. Gadgets, for one. You actually have the introduction of Desmond Llewellyn as Q in this movie, who would go all the way up until the world is not enough before he passed away.
Which, what bitter irony. I remember that happened. It was like, oh, it was the last movie. And then, he died. It was like, oh, he knew.
Yeah, I think he knew that he was going to die, so he goes, get John Cleese from Monty Python to replace me. He's funny.
And then that went well.
Yeah, but going back to From Russia with Love, the gadgets. You got the suitcase that's got the tear gas in it if you don't open it right. The combat knife.
It has gold coins in it.
Yeah.
Hey, if you need currency anywhere, it's got gold coins. You can use this anywhere. Except now.
Well,
currency.
Right? You got that really, for the time, this was pretty cool, but you had this rifle that fit into a very compact, the butt of the rifle was the case of the rifle, assemble it, and then you got yourself a nice, highly powered rifle to just shoot people with a...
Helicopters.
Helicopters, people.
Well, they're holding grenades. Spoilers.
Spoilers of a movie that came out in 1963.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Looking at this, it says Dr. No 62, From Russia with Love 63, Goldfinger 64, Thunderball 65. And then You Only Live Twice 67. So for 4 straight years, they pumped out, you could argue, 3 or at least 2 of the best James Bond movies.
Yeah.
Goldfinger and Thunderball, and even From Russia with Love, I have a special spot because I really liked his relationship with Tatiana.
Yeah,
it was like they kind of fell in love, but she kind of betrayed him at the end, and then she saved him.
And then Rosa Klebb with the famous shoe knife, which turns out to actually have been based on a real thing. Like there was an assassin who had a shoe knife that would stab people, and it was a poison-coated knife, and I'm just like, wait, this was actually real.
Well, if you think about it in a practical sense, you're standing in line at the bank, click, stab, walk away. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I liked the movie because it introduced a really good arch nemesis in the sense of not like the bad guys in Dr. No or Blofeld or who's the guy in Goldfinger.
Well, Goldfinger is the guy.
Yeah, Goldfinger. Yay, Goldfinger.
Odd Job.
It didn't introduce an Odd Job.
It didn't have the special goon in it.
But no, it did. It had the KGB guy who said to kill him,
right.
and that it kind of set up the secondary minion, the actual minion that's supposed to test Bond's strength and spy abilities, and they have the fight, and Bond wins because of the gadgets, and then Odd Job, you could argue, would be that character.
Red Grant, by the way, is actually... I mean, granted, he didn't really do that much in the movie, but the concept of Grant is actually pretty genius. I mean, you've got this guy who can completely disguise himself as part of the other side of the Iron Curtain, the, Western part, without, Soviets. He can easily blend in with any other culture and speak whatever dialect. He's the perfect assassin to try to send after Bond.
Maybe he should have played James Bond.
Well,
Fleming rolls over in his grave.
Might have been because he had blonde hair.
Don't let him see Daniel Craig.
But Goldfinger,
the Aryan James Bond.
Goldfinger, man, Goldfinger.
probably top 3 for me.
Really?
Just because of the song.
Just because of the song?
No, I mean, but really, I mean, it had the Aston Martin. It had... It just... God, it had, like...
It perfected
you expect
the formula.
me to talk. No, I expect you to die. And then you, like, for the first time, you see James Bond going, oh, I might die. And then he's, like, screaming, like, Operation Grand Slam. Yeah, I know about that. And so do they. And then he kind of... Goldfinger calls his bluff, and the action scene at the end where they gassed Fort Knox and they fell over, and then Japanese people.
The whole plot of Goldfinger is very interesting because it's like, we're gonna nuke the inside of Fort Knox, and all the gold that I currently possess will become so invaluable, which is so. It makes me wonder if that plot could actually work even today.
Really, the problem now is you go in there and there'd be no gold.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all been moved somewhere else. Yeah. Do we even know what's inside Fort Knox? I want to know what's inside next.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, that's an area.
Was that Indy? Oh wait, this is other podcast.
That's Area 51 anyway.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah,
they're all the same. They're connected by a long high.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull helped confirm
that.
Helped confirm a lot of things, like this franchise is dead.
Let's take a brief moment of silence for that movie.
But Goldfinger, even though it was the first Bond movie I had ever seen, it wasn't the first Bond novel I had ever read. If I recall, in the novel, Goldfinger is an ex-SS officer. Like, that's the main difference between the Fleming novels and the cinematic things, is that at the time the movies were out, World War II was over. Like, the fallout from World War II was over, and we were in the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, you're dealing with the Soviets, the KGB, potentially GRU, and in the Fleming novels, it's like, oh, this guy used to be an SS officer. I think that's what Ort Goldfinger was. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he was an ex-Nazi of some sort. That movie, it looks like it's such a large-scale film, mostly because of the climax. That is such a big set that they had assembled. That was supposed to be the inside of Fort Knox.
That scene, though, I think was just so special in a way, because like they're in this thing and there's very little music, and all you hear is the count of the non and the click, and then you just see James Bond and Oddjob, and it's like these two, like this Titan versus like kind of David and Goliath, where you're like, what is James gonna do? And like he finally sees electricity, and spoilers, he electrocutes Oddjob, and then he's like, but then there's this nuclear bomb he has to take care of, and he's like looking at it, and he's about to cut the wire, and then the guy clicks it off, and it stops at 007, and it's just like, and it's just, to me, I think it's like the pinnacle of what a James Bond movie should be. Like, it may not be the best, but I think it is if you make a James Bond movie, you should look first and foremost at Goldfinger.
It set the standard, and it was also up to this point, it was the most financially successful. Like, the first two, they made a little bit of money. You know, they were pretty entertaining, films at the box office. People went to go see it. Then it's like Goldfinger, and then there are people that are in line to see this, and they've seen it 4 times already. It was the first time you had something like that, because, you got Shirley Eaton as the woman painted up in gold in the bed, mm-hmm. naked, dead. So, that was a bit of that was a big deal. I mean, that scene was kind of creepy, at the fact that somebody would take the time to paint this woman gold and have her die from being painted gold, but I guess because I didn't live in that time, I don't really understand how that was such a big thing. I mean, I guess it must like a movie trademark maybe, but I don't quite understand what the whole big deal about that was. So
I guess then we do a Thunderball, which again is
best Connery movie.
Top 4,
best
maybe
Connery
it's
movie.
4 or 5 for me, because that was a good movie. Like that. Again, if you're gonna make a James Bond movie, first watch Goldfinger, then watch Thunderball, and then you're pretty much set. Oh, and don't forget The Living Daylights, but we'll get there. But I love Thunderball. I think it's the first movie with Largo, right?
Well, Largo.
I'm sorry, not Largo. Felix.
No. Felix Leiter
was he in Dr. No?
No, he was in Goldfinger.
He was in Dr. No, wasn't he?
I don't think Felix Leiter was in Dr. No. If he was, I don't remember him whatsoever, but I do know he is in Goldfinger.
I think he's in Dr. No. I think I was wrong, because I think he's in Dr. No, because that's just plot points.
We'll take a look at it later.
Yeah, I think... Because I know he's in Thunderball.
Yeah, Thunderball to
Maybe
me,
that's the first one where you really, like, he stands out. I don't know.
It's the first one where he's actually, like, featured completely throughout the movie and does something.
Even though it's very small.
Goldfinger, he just like, oh, yep, that's where James is. Let's go get a bite to eat.
Yeah, he's like, oh, James is okay, and secretly James is like, dear God, I'm gonna die soon.
Yeah, because, okay, the plot of Goldfinger, you got him trying to bomb Fort Knox, right? Alright, here's why I think Thunderball is a much better movie, because the plot of Thunderball is, okay, this terrorist organization has hijacked a nuclear bomber, crashed it somewhere in the Atlantic, we don't know where, we're still trying to find out, and it was armed with 2 nuclear warheads. This terrorist organization now has 2 nuclear warheads that they have not designated what their targets are, but that they are going to launch by a specific date unless they get this amount of money worth in diamonds. You have 72 hours. That, to me, is a much scarier plot than just, I'm going to blow up Fort Knox.
I think of all the plots, it's one of the... It's up there. Die Another Day, though. Die Another Day, there is a laser in space.
We'll cover lasers in space a little bit later.
Twice, actually. There will be 2 times we cover lasers in space.
But, you know, and
both of which involving diamonds.
The scale of Thunderball is much bigger. I
think it was the first one where you actually felt dread, like, when it started, because he's like, they walk in and they have that huge meeting with all the double O's, and then they each go in, like, and, like, he's like, Operation Thunderball, and use, like, and James Bond sees, eventually, I think, the brother of someone.
The sister.
Yeah. The
Domino.
Sister. But Largo was a good bad guy.
Oh yeah, he basically the basis of number 2 in the Austin Powers series, because that's what Largo was. Inspector, he was number 2, and he had the eye patch. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good villain, good Bond girl. God, I mean, if you're like, oh, pretty much what they did was like, oh, Goldfinger had a really good ending where it was climactic. Maybe we should. Let's do it underwater.
Yeah, and let's, like, up the ante like you wouldn't believe.
That ending scene is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that if you were to do that underwater climax today, I guarantee you most of this would be done digitally.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Well, either that or in like a test pool.
Yeah, like
digitally.
This is okay. We went out to the Bahamas. We got a whole bunch of these weird underwater sled props and fake harpoon guns.
Yep. And we had people fake fight. Like that, and one of the things I love about Connery movies more than any other movie, except for maybe like Casino Royale and Quantum, is the music.
Oh yeah, the music of Thunderball.
Goldeneye, like that had really good music. It had like a really cool modern, but again.
Yeah, we'll cover that a little bit later.
But Connery movies had like such a good orchestra of strings and like dun 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 dun, and like you were like,
yeah. Thunderball is definitely one of my favorite Bond films and my favorite Connery film, just because the setting of it really highlights, like, because Fleming was all about the tropical environment underwater and things like that. It really highlights the quote Fleming environment. It really is a cool movie. It's a very pretty movie to look at. Very well shot, especially the underwater stuff is great. It makes me wonder to this day how you were able to coordinate so many men underwater to do this giant fight scene. I don't know how they did that. I really don't.
We also can't forget Jetpack.
Oh yeah, which actually exists.
What movie was it where he's like, does this thing still work? And
Die Another Day. Yeah. Which... you only live twice. James Bond goes to Japan.
Another one of my favorites
Really?
I like that movie.
I have
they-
to wholly disagree with you on this.
Again, they're like, let's take action sequences at the end and just make them, let's fight in a volcano! Why not?
Yeah, he's got a secret,
Volcano base!
got
which again, Austin Powers.
He has a secret
Ripped.
volcano base that shoots out a space rocket, which goes up and eats other space rockets and
To
brings
cause World War III!
yes, between the Soviets
Why
and the
not?
Americans.
Look, when I hate people who are like, oh, this plot is so implausible. Excuse me, it's a James Bond film.
Right?
Like, we had Dr. No, which used,
He's using radio
radios
signals to topple rockets.
Majesty's Secret Service, they steal this radio thing, a codex machine, so that's okay.
Oh, you mean From Russia with Love?
I'm sorry. Yeah, from Russia with Love, they steal the code
Which
machine.
that's
Okay, I'll give you
that's
that.
a little bit more realistic.
Goldfinger, he tries to nuke Fort Knox.
Thunderball, that's pretty plausible,
Okay,
actually.
so from the first 4, 2 were pretty implausible, and 2 were pretty plausible. And then number 5, they just went off the deep end. But I still loved it so much because, the
Connery is sleepwalking through this movie bad.
I haven't seen it in probably a couple years, but it's still, I love the little helicopter scene.
Mm-hmm. Oh, with the little Nelly or whatever.
Awesome. I love the whole Japanese, how he gets the eyebrows.
Yes, he gets the bowl cut and the eyebrows. He has to become Japanese.
They actually tried to make him, and they made him really tan. He tanned really good for that movie. And what scene was it? Where they pick up the bad guys by the plane, the helicopter with the magnet. They're being chased.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many cool things about that movie.
The thing about
why do you not like that movie?
Because I don't like Connery's performance in it. Because it's very dull. It's a lot like what I'll talk about in Diamonds. But there was a lot of backroom stuff going on during the production of this, referencing that documentary, Everything or Nothing. Connery, at this point, was so arrogant to the fact that when a certain producer would come on the set and he would be in the middle of a take, he would stop working. Connery essentially became an ass in this movie.
My boy.
Because he wanted more money, and what he was asking for was a lot of money at the time, and they didn't want to pay for that because he was already getting paid a few million.
Well, okay, we take that out of it, and just in the sense of a movie, I love that movie. It was so ridiculous. They were trying to cause World War III. At the very end, that scene in the volcano was awesome. He has to prevent World War III. And the cigarettes.
Yeah, the cigarette rocket thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is also the first time that we get to see Blofeld without being a silhouette or with his back to us, played by Donald Pleasance, who, by the way, is a fantastic actor. I mean,
he could never catch Michael Myers.
Yeah, he could never ever catch Michael Myers. It must have been that damn limp.
Must have. Or he didn't have his cat with him.
Yeah, obviously. There's this nice little parody theory going around that Blofeld is actually not a person. Blofeld is the cat. And that the cat has taken over a host.
That's actually pretty good. I liked that movie. I liked it.
It was okay.
I'll have to watch it again and focus in on him, but I have a feeling I won't care because it's just Sean Connery being like, "Oh,
and then
the name's Bond."
James Connery Bond. Saying, "I will never ever return as James Bond," which never say never. Well, before that, you have Diamonds Are Forever, which just proves that if you throw enough money at Sean Connery, he'll do anything.
This is the movie where I'm gonna kind of take a seat because I have not seen
On Her Majesty's Secret Service. George Lazenby's first and only Bond movie.
I think I've seen it 2 times my whole entire life, and it has been so long. I remember the ski, the very ending where they're looping or
going through the bobsled.
The bobsled.
Yeah.
And then obviously
because there's a lot of spoilers in this movie.
His wife dies.
Yeah, which this movie is probably the most important Bond story out there.
Shame.
No, I'm going to disagree. I don't think Connery could do this movie.
Well,
because I don't think Connery could play the type of Bond that would get married. I really don't. More, maybe. I think Lazenby, for what he did...
Dalton, T-Dalt, 100% positive, yes.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because at the time that they were looking for people for Secret Service, T-Dalt was scouted, but he turned it down because he felt he was too young at the time. Which he was. He was in his 20s.
Jesus, yeah, he would be.
Yeah, way too young.
Could you imagine, though, let's just, like, a little side note here. Could you imagine if he had said yes, and it had done well, and then he did Diamonds, Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Guns, Why You Love Me? We would not have a Roger Moore era in it. Oh my god! My head is exploding right now. But we could possibly not have him doing the Living Daylights.
And a few questions that pop up during On Her Majesty's Secret Service is that, with You Only Live Twice, Blofeld and Bond have met. So within the film's continuity, when On Her Majesty's Secret Service happens, they act as if they've never met each other before. And
I remember that was something that bothered me when I watched it.
The reason for that is that the novel for Secret Service happens before You Only Live Twice.
Yeah, I knew that.
So that's why when they did the movie, when they based it off the novel, these two characters have never met before. Now they're meeting for the first time. And, I liked the original idea that they had for the ending of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, in that he would just get married and that would be the end of it. And then at the beginning of Diamonds, they would have killed her, and then the whole movie would have been a giant revenge, I'm going to go kill Blofeld. Which is
kind of like Quantum of Solace.
Well, yeah, kind of like Quantum of Solace. And you got a little bit of that in the beginning of Diamonds Are Forever. But On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of the most important Bond films out there. Probably one of the best shot Bond films. And Lazenby, I think Lazenby's okay. I think that
you can have his crouch shot.
Yeah, he can take his crouch shot and shove it up his ass. But when it comes to a fist fight, this guy can fight. Like, he gives
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, watching this movie, I could easily believe Lazenby would be able to kill somebody.
Now on to
even though he's a dirty Aussie.
My personal favorite James Bond, Diamonds Are Forever.
Are you serious?
No.
I
used to like it a lot, and I slowly, because like there were cool scenes, like the moon base scene.
Which with the moon buggy.
Which again, it's like they went from plausible on Her Majesty's Secret Service to nope, just nope. Nope, this is not like.
So, what is the plot of Diamonds Are Forever? Why don't you run down the plot for me, Derek?
Blofeld builds a diamond laser that he puts in space, and it uses the sun's light to use a laser, and he's gonna laser. I love that movie so much because it's the first James Bond movie that made me laugh. Because like, there's the scenes of like China, and they have the rockets, and just the whole screen goes red.
Yes.
Like,
and then that Chinese guy just goes, ah! And then explosion.
It's not just like it's not like just the rockets go red. Like the whole thing goes like the screen reds out and blows, and like you hear explosions. Like the technology just wasn't there. Like they wish they could have a Die Another Day, but they just couldn't. Die Another Day.
You also have a first in the Bond movies with this, and the fact that you have the first. Well, I guess in this movie it's a pair. The first gay henchmen, gay villains.
Well,
Wint and Kidd.
Only until
Wint and Kidd. Yeah, there's innuendo in that.
Well, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm saying the only until on Skyfall.
Yeah, until Skyfall, you didn't have another one that.
Why would he get a lap dance? I don't know in that movie.
I don't know.
I wouldn't lap dance, but I liked that movie strictly. Again, the ending scene was entertaining and
prepare my batho sub. Can I just one major complaint?
I wish they had brought back the original Blofeld.
Oh, Donald Pleasance. I think Donald Pleasance was actually a last minute replacement for somebody else. I don't remember who it was, but he was brought in like 2 weeks before they were supposed to start filming those scenes. So, when he did a very good job. And very great makeup on the face too, like with that whole kind of like tiny skin flap kind of going over his eye. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. The whole thing with Diamonds Are Forever with Blofeld having doubles, getting plastic like having people go through plastic surgery and himself having plastic surgery, which they in On Her Majesty's Secret Service Blofeld had plastic surgery. Diamonds Are Forever. He has plastic surgery
and then
again.
Live and Let Die.
Oh, I'm not even done with Diamonds yet.
I know, I'm just...
Diamonds, number one complaint about this movie. Sean Connery's goddamn eyebrows are so huge in this movie.
Who cares? He drives a moon buggy. And then he gets chased by three-wheelers.
He has caterpillars on his face.
Like
not to mention...
And then the cool Las Vegas scene where he drives the Thunderbird. What car does he drive?
I don't remember.
Was it Mustang? It was a nice car.
Yeah.
And he drives around and evades the cops.
Yeah. But God, those caterpillars, and then the fact that he definitely looks older in that movie.
Yeah, he looks.
I don't want to say it's Roger Moore bad,
no,
but it's getting there.
Like I think it was 71, and he started at 62, so it was 9 years after Dr. No. So
he was in his 40s, I believe.
That's okay.
When he ended.
I think it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Roger Moore bad, but it's definitely noticeable. And then the end of an era, the end of the Connery / one-time Lazenby era, then we get into Roger Moore with Live and Let Die, the first and only blaxploitation Bond movie.
Well, first of all, Blofeld actually wasn't dead. They had to kill him off. Again.
Well, it's funny that you should mention Blofeld because a man by the name of Kevin McClory sued Fleming and Eon Productions because he felt that his contributions to the script of Thunderball, which includes Spectre and Blofeld, belonged to him, and he won that case, which meant that after a certain amount of time, until they ended the Spectre arc, which they did in Diamonds Are Forever, after that, you can't use these two ever again. Which, we'll cover that a little bit later, when we get into the 80s. And that's why in the Moore movies, you didn't have Spectre. At all. You had...
Well, I think it was a good... Because Spectre wasn't involved in Goldfinger, which we can all argue was the best Sean Connery. I would argue the best Sean Connery. So I don't think it was, necessary. But it was a huge staple. And I think they transitioned out of that very, very well. They was like, wow, what do we do now?
Because they allude to Blofeld. They allude to Blofeld's master plan of having this diamond laser very early on. Like with Thunderball, he requests a certain amount of money worth in diamonds. That's what he's wanted all this time, was diamonds. And then when he finally gets them, he builds a space laser that uses diamonds to focus solar energy to use as a laser cannon. So, I mean...
God, that movie. The tapes.
Yes.
The tapes, God.
Sean Connery.
I love that movie.
Sean Connery walking up
20 seconds and
counting. 20
seconds
and counting. Yeah,
and the way he kills Blofeld by just ramming the sub.
Well, yeah, doesn't kill him, but it's kind of... just getting hit and stuff. Prepare my Matho sub.
What is he saying? Like, what is wrong with you, you idiot? He's just going off on him. But Live and Let Die
is an awesome movie. I love Live and Let Die.
You should do your Bourne.
No, I'm not doing my Baron Samedi laugh.
Danny laughs and he sounds like...
Yeah, sometimes I laugh and I can laugh like Baron Samedi from this movie.
And he doesn't try, it just happens.
Yeah, it just kind of happens.
A really good movie.
Oh yeah, I agree. I
think it was because Roger was just so young and it just...
Fun fact, Roger Moore when he started was just as old as when Sean Connery stopped. They're both the same age. Fun fact.
How old was he?
42.
In Live and Let Die? He's a good-looking 42-year-old.
Yep. But then, later on down the line...
Yeah, later, because he did Live and Let Die in 73, and his last movie was 87. No, 85.
Yeah. So, it's like 12 years.
56-year-old Vito killed Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll get there. I like that movie. The jumping on the rock, alligators. Domino.
Which
was it Domino or? No, it was. She was the
Solitaire.
Solitaire.
Yeah, Jane Seymour. Her first movie was a Bond movie, and then she'd later go on to be Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, and then get her boobs felt up by Owen Wilson in Wedding Crashers. Fun fact.
Alright, but...
Yeah. But, Live and Let Die is...
Good bad guy. To
Yaphet
this day, I
Kotto.
don't know what the plan... What was the plan?
The plan was that Kananga, in this fictitious island nation in the Caribbean known as San Monique, who was also a crime boss in the United States known as Mr. Big, operating out of Harlem, was going to have this new type of super heroin.
Okay, yeah.
Which would get people addicted better, I guess.
Than heroin already does.
And he's like this very, very specific kind of... I guess Baron Samedi put his voodoo magic in the heroin, and that made it even more specially addictive. And so more people would buy from him. Like, he was just intending on, like, giving out a large amount for free, getting people addicted, and then having them come back and buy more. Like, he was just going to completely flood the market with it and put all the other heroin dealers out of business and basically have a drug monopoly in the U.S.
Best title song?
One of the best.
It's definitely got to be up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney in the Eagles?
Wings.
Wings? Sorry.
Yes, in the Eagles. Hotel California.
Whoa. Live and let... No,
Yeah, great soundtrack throughout that movie, and a very inconclusive ending. Baron Samedi is still alive, running around somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think he was
doing his...
ever the main threat. And he can't die, so...
Yeah, I guess.
Unless you kill him with the golden gun. Speaking of which...
The Man with the Golden Gun, which would come out a year later after Live and Let Die. Pretty fast.
We just established that Dr. No to Thunderball was all a year.
But, that was a little bit different. I think mostly because once you get into the later Connery era, you're making these bigger scale films. The Man with the Golden Gun is not really that big in the scale of a film when you think about it. It's very B-movie.
I always liked it because I always loved the man. I always loved Christopher Lee's character, Scaramanga.
Yeah.
The fact that he's just this assassin who...
He has this gun that's made out of a cigarette lighter, a pen, a cufflink, and a cigarette case.
Uh-huh. And it will kill you in one shot.
Yeah, of course. One shot. That's it. That's all it takes. No matter where you get hit, you die. But wait, what if we shot him in the... No, you die.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. You're dead.
Well, he never... He hits you in the head.
Yeah,
that was the...
Yeah, he never misses. And he has a third nipple, which apparently gives you the ability to never forget, I guess. I don't quite understand how that works. But...
Well, you said that Live and Let Die was black
blaxploitation.
This one was Asian exploitation.
Yeah, it was kung fu. It was a kung fu movie.
And you have Roger Moore running around like beating up ninjas, and you have a little Asian midget.
How did we go through Live and Let Die without mentioning the best character in both Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun, Sheriff J.W. Pepper? I mean, because everybody just loves that guy.
Yeah, everyone's gonna get...
By the way, I'm being completely sarcastic right now.
Are you serious? I love this character.
Yes, no. Why did they bring him back?
Because they had to have James Bond look at him and go,
I sure am, boy.
Because just one of Roger Moore's best moments is James Bond. He just looks right at him and goes, I sure am. God, Roger's the best.
Yeah, he definitely has the whole humor thing down. But
I think that was their Spectre. That was their Spectre.
The humor was Spectre.
They're like, well, we can't do Spectre. Let's have this deputy who keeps just running into James Bond.
J.W. Pepper is now Blofeld.
I'm gonna stop you, Bond.
And like throughout all the Moore movies, you just have these renegade Southern sheriffs running around under comic relief. That's Roger Moore's Spectre. The Man with the Golden Gun, I think
a different ending scene. Whereas like most ending scenes are very action packed. This one was really suspenseful and like slow.
Yes, the whole funhouse thing that Scaramanga puts his victims through.
Maybe that's why he always wins, because he has the upper hand.
Yeah, I mean he purposefully has his henchman Knick-Knack, a dwarf, hire some of the best assassins you can find in the world so he can practice. This is pretty weird. He also has a mannequin of Roger Moore, which I don't quite understand why.
Because he wants to kill James Bond.
I guess, but...
I think that was a really cool thing, is that, like, other than the fact that how he changed into those clothes, threw the
so
mannequin
fast.
away, and then got in that position, and then I think he lost his gun, so apparently Scaramanga let the loaded gun
Yeah,
too.
a PPK, just,
Loaded and ready.
in a mannequin's hand.
It's still, I really like that. And then Goodnight was pretty.
Yeah, I don't like Mary Goodnight. I think she's kind of annoying. She's kind of a ditz. Like, she is the stereotype of a Bond female lead, where it's just kind of like, I'm completely helpless.
Yep.
Sexism.
Yep.
And then,
But then we go.
that would get
from
remedied
that
in The Spy Who Loved
to
Me.
probably his best. The
Yeah.
best Roger Moore film, I think.
Yeah. Up there.
It's I don't know. I think it's better. I love the Little and everything, but I think this one just again
Completely.
it's like when you want to make a good James Bond movie, watch Goldfinger, watch Thunderball, and watch The Spy Who Loved Me, because I think The Spy Who Loved Me was the perfect Roger Moore film where it was kind of corny, but it was also like, and the plot was really kind of dumb.
Well, and it's interesting that you should bring up the plot in the fact that the villain, Carl Stromberg, was supposed to be Blofeld. But again, Kevin McClory, being a dick, didn't get to happen. And this was supposed to end...
I don't think it would have changed. Well, okay.
It was supposed to end the whole Blofeld thing. End it, for once and for all. And the ending of how he kills Stromberg, Roger Moore actually hates the ending of The Spy Who Loved Me, where he just kills this man so brutally. He shoots him once... Then he pulls the gun out of the tube and continues to unload the magazine into him and kill him. Apparently, Roger Moore is a pacifist, it turns out. Which,
bitter
James
irony.
Bond is a pacifist. I mean, the scale of this movie. Again, going back to scale. Very huge. That climax inside that giant tanker in the submarine pen.
Mm-hmm.
You've got villains with Stens just running around shooting at other people.
A villain with another minor villain, Jaws.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say he's minor.
Well, I meant like minor as in like
a henchman, yeah.
Minor, like with metal teeth who bites through anything, and like I
Yeah.
think James Bond shoots him in the face. And
Yeah, he shoots him in the teeth and it deflects the bullet.
oddly enough, he doesn't hit him in the face. He hits him in his metal teeth. James Bond.
I think
Roger
he-
is the worst shot.
I think he either even... He also punches him in the mouth, and he also tries to kick him in the groin, but when he kicks him in the groin, there's another metal noise, and he kind of like hurts his leg, which seems to insinuate that maybe Jaws has iron balls.
Well,
but
maybe Jaws is all metal. Maybe that's what it is.
maybe he's a cyborg. Maybe he's a Terminator.
Maybe he is.
Maybe he is Skynet. Dun 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 dun.
I like that movie because the Bond girl
Was intelligent.
awesome. Yes.
Was
And
my
I
god.
think my favorite scene is they're driving the ridiculous 80s car. They run right off the cliff,
The Lotus Esprit.
and then it turns into a submarine. And then she's all freaking out. She's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And then not 5 minutes later, she uses like the mines or the torpedoes, and he's like, "How did you know that?" And she goes, "I stole the blueprints of this car 5 years ago." And it's like, why did you freak out when you jumped in the water then if you knew it was a submarine car? Plot hole. Dumb movie.
Yep, 0 out of 10. Would not watch again.
Would not.
But I really enjoyed The Spy Who Loved Me. The Spy Who Loved Me was probably my first favorite Bond film because the way that I had initially watched them is that they would show them on television, and my grandfather was the person who introduced me to the Bond franchise. I mean, other than the GoldenEye video game, I never really explored it anymore. And he goes, "Hey, this was back when my grandfather actually paid attention to the kind of stuff that I did. He's like, yeah, you got that James Bond game. Well, there's a movie that's going to be coming on. It's one of the ones that, I used to watch when I was younger. I was 20-something when this came out. And so we sat down and we watched Goldfinger. It was awesome. After that, The Spy Who Loved Me came on. I enjoyed that so much better because it was awesome.
Like they start with like the Cairo, the MI6 base in Cairo, and I think that's one thing I miss about these newer James Bonds.
You got the guy that's like got like the tobacco pipe. He's just like smoking it inside Q's lab, and then he like takes it away, points it at a target, and it shoots four rounds. Just like, I don't think that's safe to smoke.
No.
But it's like it's Russia and it's the Soviets and the West collaborating in a movie which is kind of cool.
And in the very end, when she's gonna kill him anyways, and he's like, "You have one last request," and he's like, "Let's get out of these wet clothes." And apparently that line
apparently that just
seduces the shit out of her.
He only killed her boyfriend in the beginning of the movie, so that makes everything better.
Yep.
I mean, can we also talk about the soundtrack of this movie and how horrible it is?
Oh, it was so 80s.
No, disco. It's 70s.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. It was so sad.
I mean, you could easily see Travolta like skiing down a slope, just like Saturday Night Fever.
That was probably the only problem with the war movies, other than
it definitely was trendy. It definitely followed trends.
Spy Who Loved Me and I think Moonraker.
Especially Moonraker, which oddly enough, that is the next film.
Well, really, what they should have said is James Bond plays Luke Skywalker, but there's no Force. Because they were like, Star Wars is really big.
Yeah, and they cashed in on it big time.
Let's make a Star Wars James Bond movie. Still one of my favorite gadgets, the dart gun, the dart watch.
Cool gadget. Should I tell you what the original plot of the Moonraker novel is?
Fine.
Okay. Hugo Drax is, although he is a prominent figure within the English community, he used to have Nazi ties. Again, Fleming, Nazis. Nazis are bad people. He has developed a new type of nuclear warhead that, when launched, cannot be detected by any current radar. And, he's developed this for the British to have an advantage in the arms race in case, the Soviets ever decided to do something. Deterrence. And so he develops this new warhead, and Sir Hugo Drax decides to take it upon himself to threaten to blow up London with it, unless his demands are met. It has nothing to do with space. It has nothing to do with lasers. It has nothing to do with eugenics. It's just, I want to blow up London because I secretly have Nazi ties.
Such a simple plot.
Exactly. And then,
but that wouldn't work in a movie form. Let's not lie. We have to have the space shuttle and the lasers.
No, we don't have to have that.
Well, the space shuttle was relatively new then,
right? Yes, it was.
That I will say they cashed in too. It was
I think the space shuttle was developed in 1977.
So it was 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years after the shuttle came out.
So
relatively new thing rolling around.
And they brought back Jaws.
Which, Jaws gets a girlfriend?
Well, I like the part where he bites it like a metal...
Oh yeah, the metal cable.
The metal cable that's like the size of my forearm.
Fun fact, you know what that metal cable was made of? Licorice. Fun fact. It's made of licorice. And he's like, ooh, yummy.
Yeah, I know, with his prosthetic teeth. I'm sure that was nice. Like they probably got stuck together.
Well, I mean, Lil Jon has a grill. Why can't Jaws be rocking the
Dr. Goodhead?
Oh, okay. Holly Goodhead. Best sexist Bond female name ever.
It's sad they went from Moonraker. They went from The Spy Who Loved Me, which also
to be fair, her code name in The Spy Who Loved Me was Agent XXX.
It doesn't matter.
No, that's
smart
still
and cool and killed people.
True.
To Dr. Goodhead.
I'm looking for Dr. Goodhead. Well, you just found her, and then Roger Moore for some reason replies with a woman. I'm like, were you expecting a man named Goodhead, Roger?
Well, he could be like, hello. But I still, it's a guilty pleasure. It's enjoyable. It's got lasers, and he kills Drax in a cool way.
You mean to tell me that in the case of a space emergency, the United States Marine Corps, in less than 20 minutes, can deploy 5 space shuttles, which can deploy 5 platoons of men in EVA suits with lasers?
Obama hasn't told us everything, Danny.
Of course, besides the secret weather machine and the prison program, what else?
This is what bothers me. People always are like, Skyfall has so many plot holes, and all I want to be like is, shut up, it's a James Bond movie.
Fucking Moonraker exists. Die Another Day exists.
Like,
Moonraker, If it wasn't
I think they purposely make bad movies well, maybe not. They try every other movie just to make a bad one.
Well, the next one, I guess, to kind of tone down things a little bit from the... Because, how do you follow up a movie where James Bond goes into space? What do you do?
You do a character piece.
For Your Eyes Only.
Which was a really good movie.
Yes, in my opinion, one of the best, and definitely one of the best Moore films. Probably my favorite, actually.
It did lose the disco film.
Yeah, because 81 we're starting to get into the more synth pop, which is slightly better than disco. I mean,
it had a cool ending when they climbed the rocks, and then I never understood why he just threw it away.
That's détente, comrade. And then General Gogol just looks at him, laughs, and gets in the helicopter and flies away.
Like, what?
You don't have it? I don't have it. So you know what? We're even.
I guess.
That's exactly what...
Even though it was the British's in the first place?
Yeah, but if you don't have it, I don't have it, well, what's the problem? We don't have it anymore.
Good. I liked this one. It wasn't. Well, it didn't stand out to me in any particularly large way. Other than the cliff scene was cool.
Yeah. I mean, you have when it comes to henchmen, you don't really have much. You have Emile Locke, who is just an assassin with glasses. Which, okay, cool. All right, that's a very down to earth.
That was a cool scene where they drive those cool buggies in the beach.
Yeah. Which, oddly enough, the woman who dies in that scene was Pierce Brosnan's wife, which was Brosnan's, I guess, like his initial tie to the Bond franchise. And then his wife would later pass away. But yeah, which that was kind of his introduction into the world of Bond, seeing how this stuff worked, because he wanted to be on set with his wife while Roger Moore was kind of seizing her.
Good movie.
I think it's a very down-to-earth Bond movie.
Can we just throw the next two together, though?
No.
I think they deserve to be put together.
No, because I think that the two from now needs a discussion all on its own. But next up, Octopussy.
I like that movie a lot.
The return of Maude Adams as a Bond girl. She played a Bond girl for a second time, and this time it was the female lead. She was in The Man with the Golden Gun as Scaramanga's girlfriend, and then she comes back as the leading lady in Octopussy.
She was still super hot in that movie.
She was age appropriate for Roger. I'll at least give him that. Roger wasn't running around with some 22-year-old, which very creepy.
She was in For Your Eyes Only. There was a scene where I love
you get your clothes on and I'll buy you an ice cream.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so apparent that he's so much older than her, and she's this little girl.
Yeah, she's like 18 and Roger's like in his 50s at this
He's like
point.
50, and he even makes a joke about it. He's like, you take your clothes off, I'll buy you ice cream.
Yeah, you get your clothes on and I'll buy you an ice cream.
I love Roger. I will say, even though Roger's not my favorite, I love the way he... I loved the way he did humor sometimes. It wasn't quirky, but was actually like,
one other thing I forgot to mention about For Your Eyes Only, without mentioning his name, they kill off Blofeld in the franchise. In the opening title sequence. Which, by the way,
I thought that was Live and Let Die.
No. That was For Your Eyes Only, where Blofeld's in the wheelchair and he just drops him down a smokestack. Yeah. That's how they because at this point you've got people going...
What was Live and Let Die's opening?
Live and Let Die's opening showed all of the different agents being...
That's right.
Yeah, that sets up the...
I was wrong, because I thought that was Live and Let Die.
No.
I apologize, viewers and listeners.
Yeah, that was a long... That was, killing Blofeld off happened a long time afterwards. But Octopussy. Okay. So let's think about this. Okay, we have a Russian general.
Favorite plot.
Really?
It was. I liked it. I like all James Bond plots. So like, this one seemed like on the borderline of preposterous and okay enough. Like he wanted to
declare war on the West.
Well, he wanted to, and the way he was going to do it was first have a nuclear bomb go off. and then NATO would cut down on their nukes, and then Russia could attack, and there would be no nuclear reprisal.
Yep.
Whereas
how does he do it? Diamond smuggling.
Just diamonds. Ian Fleming and diamonds.
Hey man, did he... Was Octopussy based off a novel? I don't think it was based off a full novel. It might have been based off of a short story, but I don't think that the short story has anything to do with the plot of the movie. Okay. Like, there are a lot of...
I liked the beginning when they kill off... Was it 003?
Yeah, one of the 00s. You notice that throughout the films, every single 00 but 007 gets killed off. I mean, by the time that Pierce Brosnan is done with Die Another Day, he is the only 00 left.
Sure?
Yes. They effectively kill off every 00 but him by the time Pierce Brosnan is done. And then Daniel Craig just kind of reboots the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
But Octopussy, that opening sequence with a little mini jet, I thought that was pretty cool, considering it's a real aircraft.
I enjoyed that movie.
You really?
I did. I think with Roger Moore films, it's Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, Spy Who Loved Me, For Your Eyes Only, and Octopussy are the ones I like. And even then, For Your Eyes Only is probably the bottom of that list. And then Moonraker and A View to Kill are just whatever.
You know, I can't really say much about Octopussy other than it's a movie. It's not really a movie, a Bond movie to really write home about. I
disagree because I always loved like the scene. Again, maybe I love when the Russians and the West and East get together and like they kill the crazy general and the train scene and then that very I think that I wanted to mention this because I watched this movie recently, and the scene where he defuses the bomb I think is one of the most intense James Bond moments, or at least one of Roger's best performances, because he's like legitimately, General, there's a bomb in that cannon, and the general's like, ha ha, because they're at a circus, mind you, and there's gonna be like there's a big air cannon, and they're gonna do like a guy gets in and he shoots out and lands in the
and then a nuke goes off.
Yeah, and that was the whole plan. So James Bond dresses up as a clown, and he's like dressed up. But I know before that, like he finds out about it, and he's trying to get to this army base in Eastern.
I think it was
Western Europe.
I think it was in Germany. Yeah,
Western Germany. And he's driving a really nice car, and he tries to use a phone, and then this. Honestly, that scene bothered me because he's trying to use his phone, and this lady's talking on the phone, and I'm like, pull out your gun, point it at her. Get in there and use the phone, but he doesn't. He steals her car, which is like this nice, like Ferrari looking nice car. But he drives right through the gate of the base. No, he doesn't. He stops and he's
being chased by the cops.
Yeah, because they start chasing him because he's going too fast, and then he stops and he's like, I need to speak with the base commander. I'm MI6, and then the guard's like, ha, whatever. And then they see the cops, and then he busts through, and he's getting chased, and he dresses up as a clown. And then he runs up to the commander in the circus, and he's like, "Commander, there's a bomb in that cannon." And the commander laughs at him, and he looks at what's her name?
Octopussy.
He looks at her, and he's like, "Tell him the truth." And there's this huge, like, serious, like, oh my, they're all gonna die in a nuclear bomb. And he finally, I think it stops like 2 seconds. He finally gets like, and it's like a serious, like, his face is sweating, and like I think that was one of Roger Moore's best acting moments.
A lot of people seem to have a problem with this movie at the fact that Roger Moore was wearing clown makeup, to which I have to say, fuck you, he's a secret agent, he needs to get in there somehow.
Well, what was the problem? Like,
James Bond should never wear clown makeup. That's just insulting. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. If you had to disarm an atomic bomb and your only way to do it was to dress up as a clown, fuck you.
But I think that was so great, like, because like even though he's dressed up as a clown, he looks so serious. Like he is so like, oh god. And that scene, to me, I love that scene, and I love like the scene where they afterwards where they kill
the action sequence where quote Roger Moore and then the Indian brute henchman, I think his name is Govinda or something like that, have to fight each other on the outside of that plane. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was so well done because guess what? It's all real, and they're hanging onto a plane, and it's high off the ground, and they're fighting each other. And it's awesome.
Well, we'll get into more of that like when we go to the
Living Daylights. Like the Moonraker opening sequence. That skydiving sequence where it appears that Roger Moore doesn't have a parachute, and so the pilot, after shooting out the flight controls of the plane, jumps out with a parachute. Roger Moore steals that parachute. I mean, it wasn't really Roger Moore, it was a stuntman, but, they have stuntmen that are skydiving, giving the illusion that he's stealing a parachute from somebody. I mean, it's all real. And that's the best part about the Bond franchise, until we get to a little bit later in the Pierce Brosnan era. In order to do a lot of this stuff, you had to do it for real. Because there wasn't computer effects. Yeah. And they used to really take pride in that. And they've done it a little bit more with the Daniel Craig movies. But once you start getting into the Pierce Brosnan era, they start to use a lot more CG. A lot more. Like, Die Another Day, it has some notorious CG. Like, this is so bad.
Like the laser. The laser that cuts through the DMs. Oh, we're skipping.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot.
But on to my favorite James Bond movie of all time.
A View to a Kill?
A View to Kill, which I mean that in the most sarcastic...
into the fire!
Sarcastic way.
With Christopher Walken laughing silhouetted over a nuclear explosion.
It's so...
He makes that movie. Walken makes that...
Is Timothy Dalton in that movie?
Yeah, Moore is way too old at this point. It shows. And he's with an ex-Charlie's Angel. Which is just... Roger, man, why are you doing this?
And she loads her shotgun with rock salt.
Yep. Because that's ideal for home defense.
It would burn like hell.
Yeah, but you know what? Wouldn't kill anybody. Which means they can sue you back, mister.
Good,
It's the plot of Goldfinger in the 80s.
Yeah, a good, decent plot, but it's pretty ridiculous. It's Goldfinger on steroids.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it's just the same thing as Goldfinger.
They were going to blow up the fault line, Danny. And
they were going to flood the fault line.
Yeah, but to do that, they were going to blow it up.
They were going to cause an earthquake, which can be done with enough force.
Did you see how many bags of dynamite
That was a lot of dynamite.
It was a lot of dynamite.
It was a lot of dynamite.
And then
Christopher Walken makes this movie.
He does.
Yes.
And Roger Moore kills it.
Because it's just like, oh, you're really old, and you're getting in bed with that 25-year-old. Yes. The soundtrack of A View to a Kill, by the way, like, God, what is his name? I can't believe John Barry, that's his name, who has done the orchestral work on a lot of Bond films. The majority of them, actually. I don't know what he was thinking, but the soundtrack of A View to a Kill, his, quote, orchestral score, makes me laugh, because it's like you've got this really serious orchestra going on, and then you've got, like, cheesy Death Wish 4 80s guitar over the top. No, well, 80s rock guitar over it, and it's just so goddamn funny to listen to. Let's not forget Roger Moore snowboards in the beginning of the movie to the Beach Boys.
I guess my perfect emotional response to that movie is just...
Why? Oh, man.
Like, Timothy Dalton.
T-Dalt, where are you?
Can we just skip...
Sound the T-Dalt signal.
I think it's time. for us to talk about...
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain?
Yes, or a.k.a. The Living Daylights. Timothy Dalton. My favorite Timothy Dalton movie, and probably my second or third favorite Bond movie.
Mm-hmm.
Living Daylights. I love that movie.
Timothy Dalton's movies. I'm so mad that he only did 2. I really am.
I just want him... I wish he had done... A View to a Kill, all the way to License to Kill, and then obviously the writer's strike couldn't help that. And I think Pierce did a great job at GoldenEye.
Well...
fucking T-Dalt would have done awesome at GoldenEye too.
Well, he was supposed to be in GoldenEye, so if it wasn't for the whole writer's strike, then he would have. He just got tired of waiting because, between License to Kill, which was in 1995, that's 7 years. 7 years to wait. In the fact that in The Living Daylights, it wasn't even supposed to be Timothy Dalton. It was supposed to be Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan was originally cast to replace Roger Moore, but then his contract with Remington Steele got renewed at the, 2 to midnight, gets renewed, and he has to cancel being Bond. And so, in comes T-Dalt, who makes 2 of the best Bond movies. The Living Daylights is such an awesome movie, because, you like it, you like it because of the plot between him and the female lead, right?
I liked it that I felt like there was a genuine love interest there. It wasn't just like,
Don't think, just let it happen.
Yeah, whatever. Like, I'm good night. And, like, there was, like, because then she betrays him, then she feels bad, and, like, there was, like, a general interest between each other. Whereas, like, in most James Bond movies, I feel as though it's just like, oh, you seduced me, and let's fuck. Like, ugh.
Timothy Dalton was probably the only Bond that because he's a Shakespearean actor, mind you. I believe he is the only Bond.
And he played in Jane Eyre.
I hate Jane Eyre. He's a Shakespearean...
Feminists everywhere cry out at your destruction.
I'm sorry, it's just a really boring, poorly constructed story.
Alright, but continue.
Oh, anyway. He's a Shakespearean actor who likes to research his roles, so he read every one of the Fleming novels to get prepared for it. And so when they would instruct him in a certain scene to do something, he would say, well, I don't think he would do that because in Fleming's novels, he would do this. And so he was Bond. He is Bond. The literary Bond.
I still love that the beginning scene of In the Living Daylights where he parachutes down after killing the guy who's doing the death to spies, and he lands in the boat with this, like...
If only I could find a real man.
Yeah, she's on the phone, and she's like, everyone here is just tennis instructors and something, and if only I could find a real man who's exciting and adventurous. And James Bond...
Yeah,
like...
Timothy Dalton
rips through her umbrella, shade thing, lands right next to her, grabs the phone from her, hangs up who she's talking to, tells her to hold on, calls MI6, and then
says, I'll be back in an
hour. And then he looks at her, and she looks at him, and he goes, better make that too.
And then Hugh.
But
it's such a great movie. It really is.
And what's really funny is Metal Gear Solid 5 just got released.
Well, the trailer for it got released.
I'm sorry. It's now 2016.
And when we're looking at the Afghanistan scenes where Big Boss is sneaking through the Soviet base.
Like,
this is the Living Daylights. This is great.
Because every game with Big Boss seems to just be like a James Bond game.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
It's just James Bond, but...
I love the Living Daylights. I like how Joe Don Baker plays a villain in this movie and then later becomes a Bond ally in the Brosnan era.
Doesn't he become lighter?
No. He becomes his own unique CIA character. I think his name's like Jack Wade or something like that.
Was it Whitaker?
Yeah, his name's Whitaker in the Living Daylights, and he's some kind of like...
Oh, that's right.
He's an armchair commando. That's what they call them on the internet. People who seem to know everything about war and combat, who have never seen it and never been in the military.
And he exchanges... Yep. Bond's dead. We'll ship the diamonds.
Yep, and he's got the safety glass assault weapon, which apparently just makes his entire body bulletproof, even though it only covers his face.
Yep.
Because it's like, Bond.
And he finally dies at his Waterloo.
Yep. Wellington statue just kind of crushes him at Waterloo.
I love that movie. But, and then just the last few things, like the whole, how he fights alongside the Mujahideen, and they're all like, oh, they're good guys.
And then you look today, and it's like, oh, we trained those guys to fight the Soviets. Now we're fighting them. Oh, what are politics? And how do they work? So, yeah, Living Daylights, awesome movie, definitely in my top 5 Bond movies ever.
And then we go
awesome to John Barry soundtrack with that whole drum machine synthesized. It's pretty cool.
We skipped when we were on Octopussy, we should have talked about Never Say Never Again. Because
you really want to talk about Never Say Never Again?
I feel as though we should talk about it for like
bastardized remake of Thunderball. Largo doesn't even have an eye patch, and his name is Maximilian now. And he's very good at video games.
One redeeming thing about the movie. That was the video game thing they did. That was so cool.
That movie.
And then they did it in Mass Effect 3.
Oh, God. That movie is so bad. It really is.
It is, but never.
I honestly, I'm sorry, but if you put Sean Connery in 1983,
mind you, like you said, 83 was Octopussy for Roger Moore. 83 was Never Say Never for Sean Connery.
And it's like Kevin McClory's words were, MGM will have their Bond, Warner Brothers will have their Bond. They will be two competing franchises now. And it's like, you don't have the licenses to any of the other Fleming material, so you're going to have to come up with all of your own stuff. Like, you can't base anything off of any Bond novel but Thunderball.
Which is what he did.
Yeah. It's like, you're going to fail because you don't have access to the resources that Eon does. I cannot believe Sean Connery on a crotch rocket in a chase scene.
Well, I liked the Q scene where he like talks to his Q and he's like, it isn't the Cold War anymore. And like, everything's like falling apart and you're like, is this supposed to be the scene where it's like the Q and he gives him the missile pin and...
Yeah. It's just a really, really bad movie. I don't...
There's one good thing about that movie, and it was the laser, the video game.
That's probably the only thing anybody remembers from that movie. I
remember the weird, like, music that they danced to. It was really weird.
Yeah, in the fact that the beginning of the movie is a training exercise to which Bond fails because apparently you're getting too old, Bond. It's like you're out of shape now and you shouldn't be doing this anymore, so I'm going to send you on assignment.
No, he sends him to the hospital.
Yeah, he sends him to that clinic or whatever, and then from there he goes off to do things because we have to stop nuclear missiles. Because Maximilian Largo
It's been a while since I've seen that. My mom bought that for me on DVD. I have it on DVD. Don't ask me why. I think Mom was like, oh, it's a James Bond movie. Terrible, like this. And all I remember is the soundtrack. Never.
It's so bad. Bad. License to Kill.
License to Kill.
My favorite Bond movie of all time.
Really?
Yep. It is the only R-rated Bond movie. Well, technically R-rated. They cut like less than a second out to make it PG-13. Definitely my favorite movie of all time when it comes to Bond. And everybody, the common thing about License to Kill back in the day, the common criticism was it's too violent and it's too dark of a Bond and it's lacking humor. I go, Daniel Craig movies. Look at these, and
well, that was...
Yeah,
I agree, but I haven't seen it in a while. I didn't like it because I remember not liking the fact that, like, what's the bad guy's name?
Sanchez.
Sanchez just murders Felix Leiter's wife.
Yeah, well, he has his henchman rape and kill her.
And then Felix
feeds Felix to the sharks and has his legs cut off.
And I guess it just shows you don't fuck with Bond because he's gonna get you.
Yeah. Pretty much. I think it's an awesome movie. Awesome. All around.
Cool things like the sniper rifle, the fingerprint.
Yeah,
which they brought back in Skyfall. Good throwback.
The only thing about that movie is that in that scene where he's using the signature sniper rifle, he gets attacked by ninjas in Panama.
Well, they're from Korea.
China.
And
he's in Panama. And he gets attacked by ninjas. And you get to see what Timothy Dalton's only weakness as Bond is, and that's nets. Because that seems to be the only thing that Timothy Dalton can't get out of is a net. Everything else he can do, but nets, no, fuck that, I'm done.
Oh man, we forgot to talk about In Living Daylight. It's one of our favorites. You told me about the scene where...
Oh, where they're hanging out of the back of the plane?
They're hanging out of the plane, and you said again, like, there is no wires.
Yeah.
They're just hanging there.
Uh-huh.
And again, it was like, oh. And then eventually there was a guy in the back that said, okay, let go. And the one guy let go.
Yep.
And fell to his death.
Well,
then,
he didn't fall.
Well, I know. And then pulled his, he fell and then pulled
They had hidden parachutes,
yeah.
Which they had the same thing in Moonraker, just in case, things were to go awry. Especially since it was supposed to give the appearance that Roger Moore didn't have a parachute. So, naturally, that stuntman had to work with a hidden parachute underneath his coat, his jacket. that's something that can be said about the Bond franchise as a whole. Is this is real. I mean, the plots aren't real, but the stunt work is. It's using special effects.
Like the diamond laser, they built that. It's real.
I mean, Moonraker, telling you right there, that is like a pinnacle in composite and modeling.
Those space stations were real.
Of course, that is the International Space Station before George W. Bush finalized it.
I wish T-Dalt had done another movie, because I think T-Dalt would have done well, and probably better than Pierce in GoldenEye.
Yeah, I mean, and then you got that long stretch with the writer's strike and the fact that, so long getting another Bond movie off the ground that by the time they were done, License to Kill came out in 89, by the time GoldenEye comes out, the Berlin Wall is fallen. The Cold War is over. So you're raised with the question, what do we do now? Well, ex-Cold War. Or you do the thing that I'm surprised that they waited until GoldenEye to do. You have a 00 versus a 00. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I think that was a very awesome thing to do, that the main villain is somebody who has the same training as you, same knowledge, well, not necessarily the same weapons, but
same,
knows how you work.
Yep.
And GoldenEye, the concept of having Soviet satellites that's sole purpose is to detonate an EMP over enemy territory. Okay, sure. I don't understand how you expect to use this weapon more than twice, considering there are only 2 satellites. So you could take out 2 cities, so you better pick carefully.
What was the mission before that started?
Are you talking about the opening sequence?
Yes.
It's Bond and Trevelyan going inside the Soviet chemical plant.
That was before the movie started? Or after?
That was the pre-credit sequence. He's going in there to blow up the chemical plant because apparently the Soviets were developing chemical weapons. So they destroyed it, and that's what...
I knew that happened, I just thought it was after.
006 gets executed, which,
turns out he wasn't.
Well, the thing about that movie is, I really wonder, how did 006 survive getting shot in the head?
Well, it was a blank, I guess.
I guess. I don't really know.
How come General didn't get burnt in the face?
Well, because he was outside.
Oh, that's right.
But, okay, so if it was a blank, then how could Ourumov shoot one of his own men afterwards? Unless he specifically loaded that first bullet to be a blank in the chamber. Because he shoots another guard afterwards and it kills him.
Or did it?
I don't...
It is plot.
Bond plot. It's a Bond plot.
It's a Bond plot.
Jesus Christ.
There's an EMP satellite, Danny. Shut up.
It's a satellite. It's a satellite system you can only use twice.
I think this was definitely Pierce's best movie.
Yeah. Agreed.
One of my top 5 Bond movies.
Mm-hmm. Horrible theme song though.
Yeah.
Written by Bono and The Edge and sung by Tina Turner. Not a fan.
Good minor villain with Xena on the top.
Oh god, she has issues. Which they allude to her character in The Living Daylights. Because they mention an assassin that crushes people with their thighs.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then it's like, in GoldenEye you have this ex-Soviet assassin who crushes men's lungs with her thighs during sex. It's pretty great. It's pretty great how all things fall into place. Which is great when he's like,
no foreplay.
Yeah, no foreplay. Take me to Yanis. Which is just awesome. GoldenEye, that climax where they're fighting on the giant antenna is bloody, brutal, alluding to the Craig era of combat. It's probably Pierce's only time where I felt like he was a killing machine compared to like Timothy Dalton. Pretty much the entire movie, License to Kill, he's a killing machine. GoldenEye, it's definitely interesting to see Russia in a post Cold War environment, things like that.
Boris.
Oh, of course. And I am invincible.
Very, very cool train scene. Very cool laser.
And not to mention the game. the game, which was just
we should probably
a cornerstone.
Start mentioning games now.
A cornerstone in the in video game history, really.
Probably other than Counter-Strike.
Doom. I mean, it's up there with like one of the most influential first-person shooters out there. Granted, it came out 2 years after the movie. It's still an awesome game.
Yeah, because I think Counter-Strike then came out 2 years after that.
Yeah.
And Doom came out a few years before.
Yeah, Doom was, I think, an early 90s.
But I think those three, I could be naive right here, but those three games, like, really changed first-person shooters. But that I enjoyed that movie a lot. And I think the way it spawned that video game, I'll forever be thankful for it, because that video game was awesome.
Yeah, fond memories of that video game. A great villain. 006 is one of my favorite villains because of the fact that he was the last 00.
Yeah, before that, most of the villains were kind of older.
Yeah.
Like Spectre, they were all kind of older. Maybe other than like Largo. The bad guy from The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, they're all kind of older dudes. This one, he was like you said, like this, you felt like, oh, he could take on Bond and win. And especially Sean Bean is amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's amazing how...
Boromir himself.
Yeah, it's like, it's amazing how Sean Bean, because he's a great actor, it's just, it astounds me at how little work he actually gets. Because he's a great actor. And I really wish he would be Liquid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid movie, because if he grows his hair out, he could easily be Liquid Snake.
Either him or, Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie? I can't remember who that is right now because I'm in the heat of GoldenEye.
Guy Ritchie's the Prometheus.
What?
Never mind.
What are you talking about? What? Are you thinking of Michael Fassbender?
I don't think so. Okay, we'll continue.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Talking about James Bond.
Tomorrow Never Dies is, in my opinion, the last good movie that came out of the Pierce Brosnan era.
Yeah, it was good. They introduced the P99, which I liked, because I think me and you discussed this. It's like, why doesn't he carry a combat pistol?
Yeah, because I understand, you need to have a smaller pistol because you're a secret agent, but you also need firepower to back it up. And that's where the P99 came in.
The PPK is great, and I want that gun eventually, but it's not really useful when you're in a battle. like for example, The Spy Who Loved Me, and they're having that huge fight in the giant tanker. If James Bond only had his PPK, he better make every shot count, and he's only gonna kill 7 people.
Right?
Or 8, I guess. Is it?
I think it's 7.
Is it 6 plus 1?
It might, at that time, it might have been 8.
Yeah, okay, he better kill 8 people, because that's all he's got.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the villain of Tomorrow Never Dies because I like how it's a satire of...
media?
Yeah, well, of certain media moguls, Fox, News Corp. Anyway, I can't remember what his name... I used to remember what
Carver?
his name... Yeah, well, I mean, I'm talking about the real-life person that they're satirizing. But it's the guy who owns News Corp. I can't remember what his name is off the bat right now. But that's who they're making fun of, and I think it's great how you have this guy whose entire his entire plot is to get worldwide broadcasting rights everywhere on the planet. He wants to have a sole broadcast monopoly.
As he starts World War III.
Yeah, like that's his big foray into the arena.
Again. It's a bomb plot. Don't scrutinize it.
Yeah,
and good secondary villain like
my name
the
is
Aryan.
Yeah, the Stamper.
Yeah,
such a generic. Not really generic, but kind of like, oh, that definitely sounds like a henchman name, Mr. Stamper.
Generic Aryan.
And then you have the assassin earlier in the movie whose name is Dr. Kaufman, because Dr. Kaufman. Yep.
Terry Hatcher.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Hated every moment. Michelle Yeoh, though.
Even though it was like, that was definitely like, that's like the definitely one I would point out as, like, The Living Daylights. I love it because there's a general relationship. That movie, it was just like, hey, we just beat the bad guys. Let's fuck. Like, well, that's it. Like,
it was another one of those plots where it's like, it's similar to The Spy Who Loved Me, where you had two powers who were conflicting at the time, and they're working together now. So it's kind of like, well, this is how we do things over here. Well, we're not over here now, are we?
Yeah, I liked it. There was some good scenes. Like, the boat was cool, the stealth boat.
We're on a stealth boat. Nobody's gonna find us.
He was a good bad guy.
Yeah,
a good opening scene. Very good opening scene.
Yeah.
Probably one of...
Play the game and you'll have a different opinion. Oh, God. By the way...
But let's move on.
Shameless plug here. I've done a Let's Play of Tomorrow Never Dies and GoldenEye. Shameless plug about that. You can check them all at my channel, www.youtube.com/phantasm.
Let's move on to The World Is Not Enough.
Horrible movie.
Which, I think
Christmas
this movie...
Jones.
Let me explain this. I think this movie really opened my eyes to how naive I was when I was little, because there's the joke at the end of the movie and he goes, I thought Christmas only came once a year. And me, being the little naive kid, and this is what's so great, is like, they weave these jokes in and kids watch these movies and they do it so well that I was like, oh yeah, Christmas only comes once. It's on December 25th, and that's the day that Christmas is, and then December 26th, it's no longer Christmas. Well, I was wrong. What he meant was,
I swear the only reason why she's in that movie is to make that final climaxing joke at the end of the movie.
Well, I mean, anyone could have played her character.
I guess I thought Christmas only came once a year. Come on.
Apparently she comes multiple times.
You guys were sitting down writing the script to this movie going, you know what would be great?
Asshole.
What if we base this entire female character over a climaxing joke at the end of the film?
I appreciate it.
Renard, played by Robert Carlyle, a terrorist who cannot feel pain because he has a bullet in his brain?
Because some 00 didn't do their job.
You had one job, 005. You had one job.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Interesting moments.
Wait, so your plot is to blow up competing oil pipelines so you can have a monopoly? Okay. Sure, I guess that's cool. You're gonna bomb.
I think this
Turkey.
was kind of like the fall of the James Bond era, where it was like, oh, because I think this and Die Another Day. Do we even really need to talk about Die Another Day?
Yeah, it needs to be talked about how bad it is.
Let's do that really quickly too, then.
Because it does have a purpose in our discussion in the fact that Die Another Day was an anniversary film. It's 40 years of Bond.
I wish I died another day.
Worst Bond theme song, by the way.
I thought we gave that to GoldenEye.
Oh, well, they're both horrible. Fucking bad.
I don't know, Goldfinger's pretty bad.
This was an... Dude, fucking Live and Let Die. Worst Bond theme ever. Just saying. Die Another Day was an anniversary film, and it has all these kind of throwbacks to the past 40 years of Bond, because it's not very many film franchises, or even media franchises for that matter, last 40 years. And so, the fact that they wasted it on such a stupid movie as Die Another Day, which, what's the plot of Die Another Day? Well, I have a space laser, and I want to eliminate the DMZ dividing South Korea and North Korea, so North Korea can invade South Korea. Hey, I just have one question.
Where would StarCraft be?
Yeah, exactly. They would get rid of Polt. Polt would not have been born.
And honestly, this was the heyday of Broodlords. So this would piss off a bunch of Broodlord players if this really happened in 2002. Like, my phone money's gone. I don't know.
Exactly. Their only source of
income. The Broodlord players would rise up and.
But okay, and then. What the fuck happened?
It was okay.
Pierce Brosnan.
Again, like, I feel the same way I feel about The World's Not Enough. I enjoyed it when I saw it as a kid, or when I wasn't a kid, then I was 11.
Halle Berry is a horrible Bond girl. And you know what's funny? Is that after this movie came out, they were considering having their own little spin-off franchise with her character from Die Another Day.
It's just... It's an okay movie.
No, this is not okay.
It's got a space laser, which is cool. And then the thing that bothered me was Felix Leiter's character. Was it Felix?
I don't think it was actually Felix Leiter, but it was some other CIA guy.
I call him Felix, but he's like... There was a funny line where he's like, I hope none of you are suspicious or superstitious because we're about to break a giant mirror, and they shoot one missile. Yeah, one nuke at a orbiting space satellite. And it shoots it down.
Well, I've done all I can do.
And it's like, wait, you're telling me you can't shoot like 30 at the same time?
So it can't target all of them?
And then be like, can you kill them all quick enough? Like, plot holes. It's James Bond plot. Stop it, Derek.
It's just such a poorly made movie.
The ice palace was cool.
And serves... Who the fuck would want to live in this?
It does. No. It was cool. I would like to visit. It was cool, but everything around it was dumb. Like,
I'm not going to stay the night in there.
No,
it's too goddamn cold.
Hold on. Hold on. It was cool, but then like the car chase was
This is like Batman and Robin bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Batman and Robin of the Bond franchise.
He jumps into freezing water and like swims for like 30 seconds and doesn't develop hypothermia.
Yeah, it's just a poorly made movie.
The ring was cool.
All right. Oh, the little frequency
cool.
ring. Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, and he still had the P99.
I will say the beginning. I like the beginning where he gets caught and it's like, oh,
he gets tortured by the
and it's like, oh, he's getting tortured. And that was cool, but then it just kind of fell off into mediocrity.
So, and this movie was released very, very early into 2002, if I remember correctly. Like it was done filming by the time 9/11 happened. And the big question after Die Another Day was how do we make... You know, you're posed with the same question that happened after the end of the Cold War. What do we do now? Because this is a game changer when it comes to like the spy game and things like this. You know, how do we have a James Bond in post 9/11 where it's all about terrorism and
make a card
insurgency?
Game.
So we go back to the beginning with Casino Royale and have an hour of intense poker playing.
Yeah, because let's think about it. It was from Dr. No to Thunderball. It was 4 years, and then 2 years, and then 2 years to 1, 3, 2. Yeah, it was, I guess the average before License to Kill, like License to Kill from Dr. No, every 2 years.
Save for a few instances.
And those instances were, like, one time it was 3, and most of the times it was 1. So it was probably more like 1.5, averaging. Like, every 2 years it was James Bond. Then the writer's strike happens, and then 97, 99, 2002... Oh, no, 95, 97, 99, 2002. Again, so they started pumping out the pure stadium again. And then there was that lull, and for 4 years...
Yep.
Well, it was more like 2, because it was 2 and we didn't know anything, and then it was like, oh... Or was it... When was Casino announced?
I believe it was officially announced. Like, they had started pre-production in late 2004, so and they managed to film all of it throughout 2005.
Almost 3 years we waited, and no one...
And a lot of people had a fit. Excuse me. A lot of people had a fit over Daniel Craig when he was cast.
Yes.
They did not like the fact that there was
a lot of people said Gerard Butler should do it.
God, no.
Yeah, and it was...
the big thing was, he's a blonde James Bond. He's going to have to dye his hair. And they were asking, are you going to dye your hair to be Bond? And it's like, no. Why? The man does a damn good job.
Casino Royale is god damn it, it's my favorite James Bond movie.
It's a pretty good reboot. Kind of gets ruined with the next one, but
the dialogue in that movie is probably some of the best dialogue.
Bring back Martin Campbell to direct from GoldenEye.
You'll ever see, who also has made some really shitty movies and some really good ones.
Green Lantern.
Yeah, like what? What? there's a scene, and it's probably one of my favorite James Bond's. Any scene I've ever watched in a James Bond movie, and it was the train scene between him and Vespa. And we watched it the other day and we laughed, where they banter back and forth, and it's like the first time a woman really stands toe to toe with James Bond. And they kind of like he at first is like probably
skewered.
Yeah, he's like, you're an orphan, you know, you're afraid because you're a woman, you're not gonna get taken seriously, so you overcompensate, and it comes off bitchy, and and then she goes right back at him, and she's like, well, you're probably an orphan too, and you hate, just like the way that whole scene was fucking perfect. And then the very end, it ends with like, she's like, how was your lamb? And he's like, skewered. One sympathizes, and just, it's like a little, you know, one sympathizes because I just got my ass chewed off by you. And it was just, I really, and then there's like another scene with the elevator where she's like, he walks up, and they, on the way to the hotel, they come with their identity, and they're like Roman Catholics, and they can't share a room. And he gets there, and he's like, the name's Bond, James Bond, and she gives him this look like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he's like, he already knows who I am. I'm gonna be bold and like let him know that I'm not dicking around. And she gets all pissed off, and she gets in the elevator and she closes the door. Before it closes, she's like, this elevator only has room for one of our egos, or doesn't have room for both of our egos. And it's just, that movie, God, I love that movie so much. And it bothered me that it didn't follow the normal James Bond protocols of like the little backstory and then him walking out and shooting. And it didn't really do that, and that bothered me. And then Quantum of Solace did an even worse job.
Yeah, Quantum of Solace is just...
We'll get there.
Yeah.
It should just not be a James Bond movie.
Casino Royale is... It's a very, very good film. However, it's good, and I appreciate the fact of what it's done. But I probably wouldn't put it up in my top 5. Definitely top 10, but not my top 5. I just...
You know when I said, like, you should watch...
Poker playing.
Hold on, you should watch, like, The Living Daylights, you should watch The Spy Who Loved Me, you should watch Thunderball and Goldfinger, and probably GoldenEye. Like, if you want to like, pick a film from each person, and 2 for Sean Connery. Like, if you want to make a James Bond movie, make sure and watch Goldfinger, Thunderball, The Spy Who Loved Me, A View to a Kill, and GoldenEye. I would say don't watch Casino Royale, because I think that's... It's kind of like Dr. No, in the sense that it's very slow, but it's very, like, it's almost like, again, like a detective film. It's very mysterious, and once they get to the actual casino, it slows down, and it gets much more,
That's because this is based off of a Fleming novel, so...
The pace slows down, and it's more, shit, I can't think of the word. On the edge of your seat, kind of like waiting to see what's happening. You know, there's not much action.
Yeah, because, I mean, you try to set up the fact that they're having this poker tournament, and if you don't win, then you funded terrorism. Okay, so that's your motivation for winning. But when you're doing this card game, there's no tension, really. Like, there's no action tension when they're actually playing cards. It's not until an outside force
exactly. It's when they're not
comes
playing.
In.
Well, it's when they're not playing the cards when things kind of get more tense.
Or when he gets poisoned.
Yes.
See, you have to have there's no real tension when they're actually playing, but when an outside force interacts with them playing, then it becomes...
It gets tense towards the end of their playing, when there's a few of them, and he thinks he has his bluff, and it's not his bluff, and he gets pissed off, and he's about to kill him. Like, that whole segment, and then when he comes back, and the very end piece where he finally wins, like, all of that's very tense. And then when we finally realize why James Bond has no illegitimate kids,
because that scene was amazing. Yes. You're really not going to tell me the password, are you?
No. And like,
I've got an itch.
To the left.
Yeah.
But I think in that, how old was I in 06?
Well, that would have been 7 years ago.
I was 15, and I was holding myself. I was like, oh God. And I think every man in the theater was too. That to talk about that, the theme song for that movie was probably one of the better ones.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that, and even the opening scene where they're Cardi, and they're attacking each other and they're the kind of cards, but
Quantum of Solace.
Just not a James Bond movie.
Just
if you want to make a James Bond movie, don't watch this movie.
So, okay. With Casino Royale, you introduce the digital age Spectre with Quantum. Quantum is now
at the very end. It's like this kind of...
Well, they hint at it throughout the movie.
Yeah, this entity. And then Quantum of Solace comes out and it's like, M's bodyguard is not really a bodyguard. And
it's like, we have this terrorist organization that's in high places in various different first world nations. Okay, let's do the worst job ever exploring this and give one of the top people the stupidest thing to steal. Water. You want to steal water.
I enjoyed it when I watched it in the theater, and then I watched it again. I was like, Music for both of those movies, Casino and Quantum, very well done. David Arnold is a great composer, and he did a very good job mixing those. But it was okay. I mean, it's again like I reminiscent of like Die Another Day, and War Was Not Enough, and like and A View to a Kill. Like, it's enjoyable. There's some really great scenes, like the opera house scene, where before and during the opera are amazing, and like right after the opera, like that is amazing. And then it just shifts gears to
sneezing.
Yeah, excuse me. You switch gears to Mathis, and then they go to what country are they in? Bolivia?
Some
and then
South American.
And he finds the hottest Bond girl, and he doesn't do her, and it's so
that's because he's on a vendetta trip.
He does the girl from MI6, but which, by the way, that's such a great line where he's like, I can't seem to find the
stationery.
Would you mind helping me? And
so
apparently
he invites her into
the
his room,
and they fuck.
Well, no, it's like that's the equivalent of saying, I can't find the toilet paper. Can you help me find it? And then apparently that leads to
banging.
Yeah, I guess. And then they have a nice little throwback to Goldfinger with, drowning her in oil and then leaving her on the bed, ruining that white carpet.
So that was okay. The ending scene was decent.
Makes him drink motor oil in the Atacama Desert. Here, you want something to drink? Here's this motor oil.
That'll kill you.
Well, yeah. You want something to drink? Here's motor oil.
Now on to Skyfall.
Which, it should be mentioned that MGM went out after the release of Quantum of Solace, and that's why it took 4 years to get another Bond film.
Again, I'm tired of this.
But Skyfall is...
Oh, one of my favorite theme songs. Danny hates it.
Yeah, because Adele, she sounds like any other lead female vocalist from the 90s. Nothing really going on there. The 90s is chock full of people that sing just like Adele. I have found this out recently at my new job because that's all they play is shitty 90s music. I have found this out, that a lot of women sound like Adele.
Skyfall is probably in my top 10.
Really?
I really enjoyed it.
It's an enjoyable movie, but I do think that because of the fact it's an anniversary film, that it's slightly overhyped. Because it's a 50th anniversary film.
I don't care about all that stuff. Like, I loved it because the bad guy was probably, I think, on par with Trevelyan.
Yeah, because he is kind of an ex
and the fact that he makes Trevelyan look stupid, kind of.
I don't know. Silva is pretty dumb because it follows that whole thing that we've seen before with the Joker in The Dark Knight and Loki in the Avengers, where I'm going to purposefully get caught so that way I could...
Hold on, I have to tell you something. Someone's calling. Hello? Who? Oh, I'm going to put him on speaker. It's James Bond movie. You can't get mad about the plot.
Well, I've seen this plot before, and I'm tired of seeing it in movies. I've seen it 2 times already in a major budget film. I'm getting tired of it. It seems like ever since they did that in The Dark Knight, that seems to be, we have a $300 million film that does the same thing.
Doesn't... Look, I liked it. It was kind of stupid and hokey, where, the only way they could hack his system is by plugging it straight into the MI6 system, mainframe.
Yeah.
But, and
The scenes in Shanghai
were amazing.
They were the highlight for me.
The deserted island was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I do, because every Bond villain has, if you've noticed as you watch the films, every villain has to have a display of power or a display of how they are a villain. Mm-hmm. And I think Silva does it very well because, that's supposed to be his girlfriend over there, just shoots her. Does not even care. Just, your life means nothing to me. That's a pretty good display of
him taking off his dentures was cool.
Yeah, the whole but I don't understand how taking off your dentures would cause the entire muscles
hold on, they're calling again.
Of the left side of your face to.
I mean, it's James Bond movie.
Also, that was
doesn't matter.
Really bad CGI for his face. That was some pretty bad.
It wasn't that bad. I thought it was okay.
It was pretty bad. And that's not hydrogen cyanide works.
I think this is also when Quantum of Solace pissed me off because he went back to PPK.
And then in this one, it's like, you have a full shootout sequence against combat pistols with the PPK.
And you're just like, no, give him PPQ or give him a P99.
Give him an HK.
Give him a new gun. He can't have Walther all the way. Okay.
He used a revolver in Live and Let Die.
Only because he picked it up.
No, because he purposefully went onto that island with a revolver, and he also had that shark gun.
Whatever.
Yeah, he went onto that island with a .44 Magnum, dude. He shot Baron Samedi with it. I think. Or was that the dummy Baron Samedi? I don't know. We have to watch that movie again.
I know he falls in a pit of snakes, and then
he falls into a coffin full of snakes.
And then he's there at the train in the end. You're like, wait, what?
What? You can't die? But yeah, I mean...
What was your favorite part of Skyfall?
Oh, the part where they reenact Home Alone for adults.
I didn't mind that. My favorite part was the car, I think. Because I saw that and I was like, oh, fuck yeah. And then they're driving and she said, complain about the ride and how it's bumpy. And he flips the ejector seat and I'm like, oh my god.
Please do it.
And then they get there and like the guys are approaching and I watched this movie at my house by myself on the TV and I was sitting by myself. And it shows the car and the mansion, and they're like the bad guys are walking up. And I remember thinking, man, that car has machine guns. They could take you, like, that would be useful, but they won't use that. Because, like, they wouldn't, almost as, like, I just honestly didn't think they would. And I was like, there's no way they would do that. And all of a sudden,
they use them.
The headlights fall and the machine guns pop out. And I swear, there was an audible yell from me. I was like, yeah! And he shoots these people. And, like, to me, it was so, like, it was them giving me and you and all of us diehard Bond fans what we wanted.
That's because it's an anniversary film.
Like, this car had machine guns. It had an ejector seat. It was a cool-ass looking car. And by God, James Bond is not stupid enough to forget about the machine guns. He's gonna make use for them. And it's a shame that he didn't have Vanquish, so they just could have sat in the car and it could have been invisible.
I mean, yeah, because the invisible car...
they could have just drove off.
Nobody could hear that thing coming at all.
Well, no, it didn't turn on. It was invisible with battery life. They could have just parked in the middle of the woods and just go invisible.
With the tire tracks in the snow. That's how they spotted him.
Well, either way, it had shotgun machine guns, so...
Fucking die another day.
I wish I died. No.
Yeah. Bond movies.
What do you want from 24?
Well, considering it's supposed to be the first part of a two-parter, I'm guessing that they're going to end the Quantum arc. Because it's not done. They took a break like what they did with the first two Bond movies, with Dr. No and From Russia with Love. With Skyfall, they took a break. Kind of like what they did with Goldfinger. And I expect them to resume the Quantum arc in the next film, which is scheduled for a November 2015 release right now. That's what they posted.
Which would be 3 years, which sucks.
Well, it's not going to be 3 years. It's going to be about 2.
Skyfall came out late 2012.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. I'm just talking about from now.
I just want these things. Like I'm curious as who do you think they're gonna pick next? I have no idea.
Well, it's obviously going to be David Tennant. I mean, because new Doctor Who fans apparently think that David Tennant is some kind of, they think he's
a different podcast.
Like he thinks that he's an actual good Doctor Who. Like they've obviously never seen any classic Who at all, like at all. It's horrible.
I don't know. I thought about it. Maybe the guy who plays Sherlock. He's popular.
Oh, and Benedict Cumberbatch.
From what I've heard, about him.
Well, that's his name, Benedict Cumberbatch.
From what I've heard, he's a good actor. It's not just that he's in like popular.
Because I am Khan and I talk like this, and I'm going to rip your lungs out if you come into my cell.
Who knows?
I just spoiled Star Trek Into Darkness. But
I thought we knew he got caught. Like everyone kind of knew.
I mean, if you didn't know that guy was going to be Khan, then you're just not. You know.
We'll just put spoilers.
You don't know
we spoil
movies.
every Bond movie in this.
Yes.
And Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Superman kills Clark Kent.
Oh. Superman kills Paul Kent. Just saying. Kills Kevin Costner. Watch the movie, you'll understand. Watch Pacific Rim and you'll understand. Anyway, so, okay, real quick, lightning round to finish this up. Favorite Bond movie?
I want to say The Living Daylights. I'm such a faggot. The Living Daylights.
Don't think, just let it happen.
Just let it happen. I goddamn love that movie. I love the Afghan part and the little... I love it. Either that or Goldfinger. Or Thunderball.
Or A View to a Kill. No. So you're going to go with The Living Daylights?
Just to say this one more time, I goddamn wish Timothy Dalton had been in that movie. It would have been so much better.
Okay.
Because Christopher Walken.
Was
a good bad
What
guy.
if Christopher Walken played Bond and he also played the villain? You're going down, Mr. Zorin.
What if
I don't think so, Mr. Bond. And then he's also the Bond girl. James, what do I do?
Our master plan is to have Christopher Walken replace every protagonist in every movie ever.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
That's antagonist. But just like...
I'll never join you.
It's just... Mama always said life was like...
A box of chocolates.
And then,
but you don't have no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Frodo... You must destroy the ring. The two worst Christopher Walken impersonators. All right. Favorite Bond movie?
I'm probably going to have to go with either License to Kill or maybe GoldenEye. Maybe.
All right. Favorite Bond game?
Favorite Bond game? That's kind of no contest.
Well, other than GoldenEye.
Other than GoldenEye, Nightfire.
I was gonna say the same thing, but I kind of want to say Everything or Nothing.
I've never played Everything or Nothing.
I haven't played it in a long time, but I remember enjoying it when I played it. But it could honestly really play as a generic third-person shooter if I played it now.
Worst Bond movie.
Die Another Day or A View to a Kill?
I'm gonna have to say Die Another Day. Because I have this special place in my heart for A View to a Kill. Like, it's so bad, it's good. I can't hate that movie entirely.
The only thing that redeems it is it has a really good bad guy.
Yeah.
Because he just goes batshit crazy and kills, like,
I'm
all
a
these
Nazi.
people.
I'm a Nazi eugenics experiment.
He's like...
Look how I came out.
he's like... And his, like, KGB father or something, like
his ex-Nazi scientist father.
Whatever, yeah, sure.
No, being serious, it's an ex-Nazi scientist.
But, like, he's like, these men worked for you, and he's like, and they'll die.
Yeah, like, that was definitely
Christopher, you're a horrible person. And Geriatrix Bond is like, I'm good, Mayday,
I'm going to wear a leather jacket, and I'm going to stop Christopher Walken. Because it's the 80s.
Favorite Bond?
Favorite Bond? T-Dalt.
Yeah.
Yeah, T-Dalt.
I don't.
I love how we've coined T-Doll. This is great.
I don't want to say that because I just think he's underrated. That's how I put him as like he's the black horse or the what's it called when it's the underdog. I think he's the underdog for me. I think my favorite.
He's the black sheep.
I want to say Sean Connery because Goldfinger and Thunderball.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
T-Dot was so good. Like, T-Dot is everything Bond should be.
Worst Bond?
Lazenby?
I'm going to have to go with Brosnan.
Really?
Yep. I think Brosnan's actually a horrible Bond. I mean, his first two movies, GoldenEye, it's a great movie. Tomorrow Never Dies, okay, yeah, pretty good. Those second two are fucking horrible. He had this, like, towards the end, he started turning into Moore. He really did.
It was like a mixture between Moore and Dalton, but just the bad parts of Moore, and then the action-y part of Dalton, I guess. It got
like
that plane fight in Die Another Day was
bad,
pretty bad.
CGI shitfest.
Like,
I thought Christmas only came once a year.
Halle Berry versus Miranda, and
yeah.
My least favorite would, I think I said Lazenby, just because
you don't like his mighty cleft.
I just remember not liking that movie.
Is it because he's an Aussie?
Favorite villain?
Favorite villain? Oh.
Don't you say Thorn. Is it Thorn or is it Zoran? I'm sorry.
Dance into the fire. I don't know. Favorite villain is a little bit harder for me because I really like Largo from Thunderball. But at the same time, I also really like Alec Trevelyan.
This is hard too. Like, this, I shouldn't have asked.
It's obviously Mr. Green from Quantum of Solace.
I kind of want to say Silva.
Really?
Just because he was gay and he was like the smartest of them all. In some ways.
Then what about Winton Kid from
They were villains. They were like the minor villains.
They were henchmen.
They were the minor henchmen.
They were assassins. You think Blofeld's just going to go down there and kill them themselves?
Who wins in this fight? Jaws versus Oddjob.
Well, Oddjob's got a range advantage.
We take away that. And besides, I have a feeling the hat would hit his teeth and, like, break. Yeah. Jaws would just, like, deflect it with his teeth.
It's like he slightly stumbles.
Like he does in all of the movies. Can we just say Jaws was practically invincible? Like, he falls like...
He never dies!
He fell, like, a cart fell, landed in a barn house in Moonraker, and he walks out, and you're like...
No, that wasn't The Spy Who Loved Me. In Moonraker, he goes off a waterfall in a boat.
That scene... Okay, alright. Hold on. I forgot about that scene in Moonraker. I really love that scene in Moonraker because it used the old theme. Dun, 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 dun. That was a cool scene. Also... But, okay, before I ask you the second question, who wins? I think it's Oddjob. Because he's got the stature.
The strength.
Yes.
Because he's a wrestler.
He has a low center of gravity.
Yeah, he's a wrestler.
He can push over Jaws. Then again, Jaws could reach out and grab his head and squeeze it and pop it.
He could just do this, hold his arm out in front of him while he's trying to get on his head and have him try to punch him, but he can't because Richard Kyle's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we should ask someone to build a video game.
Who would win in a fight? Max Zorin or Colonel Moon from Die Another Day? Gustav Graves, yeah. Who would win against those two?
Zorin would kill him by just yelling. He'd grab his Uzi and just shoot
So you have a satellite laser. I've got dynamite in the San Andreas Fault.
I've got an airship.
I've got a blimp.
Come here and let you out. Oh, you fell.
I have a fire axe.
Got it.
I'm a Superman. Okay,
I was gonna ask you something and I forgot. Shit. Okay, did we say worst villain?
Have we done worst villain?
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much down to...
Die Another Day?
Well, it's not going to be A View to a Kill, because that's a damn good villain.
Yeah. It's either Die Another Day, World is...
Moonraker's
not bad. Either that or Quantum.
Green is pretty bad, because he just wants to steal water.
He wasn't... I guess...
He
wasn't that bad, because he was a good villain, it's just the plot was dumb. So I'll give... I think maybe Moonraker...
Yeah, because the only thing Drax wants to do is, like, eugenics.
Yeah, let's kill everybody and we're gonna have incest.
I will have a master race that will go down and populate the earth once everybody is destroyed.
Yeah, he's kind of slow.
Well, that's just that man's acting style, because English is not his first language. He has a very good voice, but English is not his first language. He's French.
Who cares? So,
yeah, I think for somebody who didn't speak English, he had a fantastic English vocabulary.
If all 5 Bonds were trapped in an octagon cage and it was deathmatch, who wins?
Lazenby, because he ran and hid behind the box.
Huh?
Lazenby. He ran and hid behind the box.
There is no box. It's just the 5 of them. They have to fight. I think Craig, or does Roger Moore somehow make it out?
He makes them laugh to death.
No, because he's such a pacifist that he kind of avoids all the fighting until they're all like until like the one that's standing, which would probably be Craig, is like
T-Dalt.
I don't know.
He's smarter than Craig. Craig has done some stupid shit. I watched Casino Royale earlier. He's done some dumb things. Like, he does not properly do his job.
I think Craig and T-Dalt would be my 2 last finalists.
Yeah.
But again, I think Roger Moore avoids the fight until Craig and T-Dalt are done.
He just kind of gives him that whole, like, look out the car door.
Because wasn't it The Living Daylights, or I'm sorry, View to Kill, where he shoots at Mayday and he closes his eyes.
Yeah, where he's just like,
He's chasing her up like
the Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower, and he shoots at her, and he closes his eyes when the gun goes off.
Roger, that's just a small little .380 pistol. You don't need to grip. You don't need to grip the rail that hard. It's not going to kick back that much, unless you're just that old. Anyway, I have nothing else to contribute. Bond movies are awesome, and if you haven't picked up the Bond 50 set, I highly recommend it if you have a Blu-ray player. That was my Christmas present to myself last year, and I don't regret it, because I go back to watching Bond movies all the time, because they're very well-made movies for the most part, very entertaining.
Unless it's Die Another Day.
And, you could have friends over, and you watch a movie like A View to a Kill, get drunk and riff on it. That's the kind
of... Or you can just watch The Living Daylights and love it to death.
And get ready for Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
I love that movie because they shoot her cello, and he kind of just looks...
Sorry.
This is
$125,000 in 1980s.
And in the car, I think the car was probably one of my favorite cars.
Oh, that Aston Martin?
It's a sweet-ass Aston Martin.
Yep, it's pretty cool.
The Vanquish is still, I think, my favorite.
Ugh.
I mean, like, if I had, like, $1 million, I would buy myself a Vanquish.
The Lotus Esprit... Hello. Best Bond car.
I can drive underwater whenever I want.
I can drive underwater, and it has a self-destruct anti-theft system. You don't have the car keys, and you just jiggle the handle. Explodes.
Well, if we want to talk about the best anti-theft system, obviously it's Tomorrow Never Dies. Starts hitting the windows with sledgehammers and nothing happens.
Would they, like, reach underneath the door handle and then kill them? Ah! And you know what the best part is? They continue to do it after being shot.
And then you can drive it with your phone. I mean, what?
With a Sony Ericsson phone from 1997.
Imagine how much better it would be with our touch phones now.
Exactly. Technology. How has it evolved?
Siri, drive my car.
Google, plot a course.
Yes, Bond.
So, yeah. If you haven't picked up the Bond 50 Blu-ray set, or if you're lucky, you could probably find the DVD set somewhere. I have not very many of those floating around. Definitely pick that up. I really enjoyed it. Very sound investment. Adds 20-some-odd movies to your library. It doesn't come with Skyfall, though. I would expect after the Blu-ray release of Skyfall, they would have started printing editions that came with that, but they don't. But still, for the price, I think when you break it down, you're paying about $4 a movie on Blu-ray, and that's not bad at all. And it's a very, very sound investment for these movies. That's how much
and you
should pay for these movies.
Moonraker, A View to a Kill, The World Is Not Enough, and Die Another Day.
I'm not going to burn my copy of View to a Kill. I'm sorry. Christopher Walken's in that movie, and I have to enjoy it. So, you have any last words?
I can't wait for Bond 24 to come out and a space laser to be in it. Or somehow diamonds be involved. I really want to start trying to figure out who the next Bond is going to be, because I really like Daniel Craig. I loved Casino Royale, and I liked Skyfall a lot. But you could definitely tell Skyfall he was old.
He's starting to age.
Even though it's only been 6 years, but I mean 6 years is 6 years, and that's.
Well, I think by the time Bond 24 comes out, it's gonna be pretty damn close to being 10 years for him.
Yeah.
So, and that's mostly the whole MGM fiasco.
So, if this next movie is gonna be a two-parter, then they're gonna have to rush out that 25 real quick.
Oh yeah.
And after that, I wonder who's gonna take a spot.
No idea. But I guess until next time.
You know what? I just wish I keep saying, like, if only Timothy Dalton was still young.
Don't think just that it happened.
Like, Timothy Dalton should be the other Sean Connery and come back and reprise his role. I wouldn't mind.
Well, I guess until next time.
We're gonna go watch The Living Daylights again.
Oh, God. Star Wars Retrospective?
Probably.
Yeah.
And then you can hear me nerd out with Star Wars stuff.
Because that's more up Derek's alley. Until next time, Phantasm Mask here, signing out.
Bye.
PWNcast.